Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Wilson. I am a personal trainer and a health coach, and I have been asked by Luba and Stryker to make some videos for you guys to basically just talk about some major areas of fitness, health, habits, some nutrition, and just to help you guys out as you are pursuing the woman of your dreams. So, with that said, today's video is the reality of how much weight you'll actually lose. So within these few videos I'm going to do, we'll start with kind of weight loss, and then we'll get into some habits, why motivation really isn't the key. We'll get into some details with nutrition as well. But I wanted to start out with something that is usually a pretty difficult topic for people, especially if you have very little experience. So I want to set a disclaimer just to say, everybody listening to this is going to be in their own stage of life. Like, you've gotten to the point that you are today, through whatever means. You might be 45, you might be 60, you might be divorced, you might have kids, you might, there's like a million different factors. You may have no experience with exercise. You may never have done a diet before. You may never tried to lose weight, whatever it may be. Just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. And I'm going to basically use the example of people that want to lose about 15 to 30, 35 pounds. Not to say that this information doesn't help with anything outside of that, because most of what I'm about to say today is very focused on just the actual reality of how much people lose weight, how much body fat percentage they actually lose versus what they think is going to happen. And this is the kind of thing that stalls progress across the board. As you're embarking upon any type of fitness or health journey, this, that, and the other, even if you just want to lean up a little bit, you want to just get your six-pack back from high school or from college days or something, and you might only be 35 or something. Either way, with the amount of variables that we have fighting against us in our food system, I live in America. I grew up in Michigan. I live in Colorado Springs. The food system here is absolutely jacked up. We have 10, 11,000 ingredients. We have a lot of things fighting against us. Most people sit all day. I mean, there's a million factors I'm not going to get into, but wherever you find yourself, usually people, if they're starting to try to lose weight, let's say 20 pounds, oftentimes because of the marketing of the fitness industry, we think that that's going to happen within a 2-3 month period. Now, it can happen in that time frame, and I'll stick with that example of 20 pounds. But what's realistic and healthy is usually, especially for men, even middle-aged, usually it's about a pound a week, truthfully speaking. And it's not something that people want to hear. It takes a lot of work sometimes just to even get the first pound to fall off and just to actually start seeing some progress. But the main thing, that this is the main mantra of the video today, is to just talk about the 1 to 2 to maybe 1 to 3 pounds a week. It doesn't mean that you can't lose it faster. If you've ever seen the show or heard of the show Biggest Loser, I don't think it's been going on for years, but there's crash diets. There's things that people will do in extreme fashions, or it might be a genetic thing. Somebody may have gone from 0 to 60 in a month, and they might lose quite a few pounds. Typically, the sustainability of that's pretty low, though, however. So just kind of keep that in mind. And don't let this discourage you. This should really not necessarily excite you, depending on where you're at, but just to give you an actual maybe motivating factor a little bit to say, okay, if I want to be in 6 to 12 months, I want to be meeting woman of my dreams, feel good about traveling over to Europe, this, that, and the other, and you just don't feel good about yourself, well, you need to start yesterday. That's all there is to it. And sometimes the reality of what's actually in front of you just needs to be faced. You need to face the mirror a little bit and start looking into why do I really want to do this? Not just simply, oh, I don't feel good about myself, but it's start taking some notes, maybe journal a little bit as to the deepest why for yourself, because that will help you ignite the fire within a little bit. But with that said, one of my other areas that I want to talk about today is consistency. So let's say you start working out, you start eating healthier. We'll get to the crash diet thing in a second, but consistency is the king of all habit changes, weight loss, fitness, whatever. Any goal that you want, consistency, as you probably know in your professional life, social life, is really the major factor as to why people succeed in just about anything. And it's honestly, with my clients, it's really the main thing, not so ironically, that as to why people don't succeed. They'll get really excited in the beginning. You might lose a few pounds. Let's say within a 60-day period, you lose like 10, 15 pounds, and you still have 5, 10, 15 more. If you haven't really figured out your why, you might stop there. You might plateau for a couple months, get discouraged, this, that, and the other. And I always try to, of course, get people to a point where they can kind of push through those barriers. But it takes not only a deep why, it also takes the showing up no matter how you feel, outside of being very sick or having some major life, situation happen. The consistent showing up to the gym, probably 3 to 4 days a week, truthfully speaking, especially if you're like in the 20 plus pound in the next 6 months kind of goal, or you've had a lot of struggles metabolically and you always get like a belly just by going on a holiday for 10 days, type of thing. If you kind of have some consistencies that about yourself that are negative, well, then the only way to get around it is consistencies that are positive. So I'll bring that back up in other videos because it's just absolutely necessary for people to recognize that, and just remember that whenever you start, let's say it's tomorrow, the main thing is to actually have a plan, and that's hopefully something I'll be helping some people in this group with. But with that said, I want to finish with talking about crash diets or just diets in general. So a lot of what my content will be on in the next few videos will be more nutrition versus fitness. Because that is typically the main determinant that is holding people up. To get a better body percentage, to lose some weight, typically that's the problem, is that nutrition just isn't, the person doesn't really know much about it. They don't really have much really support system. Like, they don't know where to go. And like I said earlier, our food system is in a terrible place. So, but with that said, I want to encourage not looking at diets as the solution. It doesn't mean you can't do them. There's validity with many different diets, but I'm going to use the ketogenic diet as it's been, at least in the Western, American world, a pretty like fad diet over the last few years. It works for weight loss, and I'm not going to tell you not to do it unless you start working with me, and then I'll tell you not to do it in most cases, unless there's some disease-focused reason. Because that's why it was originally created. I think it was like 1936 or something. It was created to like heal leprosy or something. It's literally taking out carbs, and so the likelihood that you'll be able to do that long term, just socially, let alone motivationally, willpower. I mean, like you only have so much willpower, time, energy, and there's only 3 macronutrients. There's carbs, proteins, and fats. You need all of them to function properly long term. So if you want to lose 20 pounds in 2 months or something like that, I'm not gonna tell you to go do that, but you do you. That would be a way to probably do it, but it's not a really safe way to do it, and it's not allowing your body the changes and the time it needs to actually change. And so I don't mean to sound negative about diets. If anybody's done that, no harm, no foul. I understand. I've done the paleo diet before. I've technically done the keto diet before. And I did it for my thyroid. I have a thyroid issue, and it helped temporarily, but I'm also a runner and I work out 7 days a week, and you need energy. So I'm not going to get into the really nuanced details of that, but typically diets set people up for long-term failure because of the unrealistic demands and the willpower needed and just the social constraints that it puts on you. I mean, being in a relationship, imagine asking your wife to cook for you and your kids, and you never have carbs. Anyway, I'm going to stop there so I don't sound negative on that topic. But I'll finish with saying, looking at a realistic timeline of maybe a few months to a year, depending on how much weight you're trying to lose, and that's going to come down. Like, go back to the beginning of the video and kind of like map things out. Look what might be realistic here, and look for hidden wins along the way. Like, you may not lose weight right from the beginning, but your pants might fit better. Your energy might increase. I want this to be something where you're thinking about, who do I need to become in order to lose this weight? And the things that will happen along the way, you're going to get stronger. Like, getting stronger as a man is so important. And it's totally underrated in today's society. When you're building muscle, even if it's not to gain weight, like building muscle. I mean, I'm 170 pounds. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm a runner. I don't have a huge body. I lift for mainly performance and health and wellness, and I feel incredible. When I started lifting 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was, my whole life started to change. My hormones started to change. My thyroid started to get better. And anyway, I'm gonna finish there. Thank you so much for listening. I'll have another 4 or 5 videos coming up in those various topics I mentioned. And thank you so much for watching, and talk to you soon.